Hello, welcome back. We're gonna start discussing the next topic, which is about the RHCSA exam. As you can see, I'm going to discuss about 9 very important points about the RHCSA exam, one at a time. So please pay attention to that. This will give you an exact idea about how the exam is conducted. Now, the important point to understand is that this is not an online exam like any other certification exam. For example, Microsoft, then Cisco or Oracle. Those are the online exams, and those are multiple choice objective exams. You can choose any of the answers from A, B, C, D. If you're lucky, you may get answers right sometimes, but this is not an exam like that. This is a very much hands-on exam, and you therefore must prepare thoroughly for this exam, and that's why this is one of the most difficult exams. The exam passing rate is very low. In the US, the exam passing rate is close to 50 to 60%. In India, it is little much better than that. So a very important point to understand, it's a hands-on exam. You will be given a machine and you will be working on that. And therefore this exam is conducted only at the authorized testing centers. These testing centers, they need to have some very strong machines which will be able to conduct these exams, and you will be given a machine and you will start working on that machine. The exam paper and everything is on that machine, and you will have to solve that exam. Doesn't matter how you solve it. Some people prefer to do it graphically, some people prefer to do it command line. It is up to you. All you need to do is make sure that you solve the question correctly. Then the time for the exam is 2 hours 30 minutes. This time is actually not enough from my point of view. Many of you, if you are very strong on the system administration, then this time may be enough for you, because in my experience most of the 30 minutes they go in just understanding the actual environment of the certification exam. It means when I say environment of the certification exam, it means what kind of servers are there in your network, whether there is an FTP server or an HTTP server or an NFS server which is surrounding your server. And from those different servers you have to install various software, you have to get some files, you have to put some files. There are quite a few things you have to do in this 2.5 hours. So to understand what is that environment, it takes some time, and that is why I think this is not enough time, and therefore you should not really rely on your luck at this time. Preparation is the only thing which will make sure that you can pass the exam. The good news is that this is an open book exam. That means you cannot take your book there, you cannot take your notes there, but all the online documentation, when I say online, it is the not the internet availability, it is the documentation. That means all the man pages and the information that is available on any Red Hat system, that will be available to you. So if by any chance, if you do not remember any option, then you can go to the man page, you can take a look at the option, and you can solve that thing. So this is like a real life scenario exam. The internet is not available, otherwise you will be googling a lot and you will be finding out answers to your questions. So Red Hat people have made sure that no internet is available, even though the man pages are made available to you. How many questions are going to be there? There are going to be around, in our experience, close to 15 to 20 different questions. Some of them are going to take a lot of time, and some of them are going to be very simple. Now, how those questions are graded, we don't know that. Nobody knows that. So if it's a simple question, we assume that there are going to be less marks, but if it is a difficult question, then there are going to be difficult marks. For example, the storage management questions, they tend to be difficult questions, and we think that they carry a large amount of weightage there. So that is something to remember, but the questions change, the number of questions change, and Red Hat is always changing those things to make sure that the certification is tougher to pass. The exam results are sent to you in the email. Usually this takes a day in most of the cases. In very rare situations we have seen that it may take a couple of days. If something like that happens, if you have not received your results in the email. Now obviously the email has to be given to the system during the time of the starting of the exam. If you have given a wrong email address there, then you may not get your results, and in that situation you will have to call Red Hat and tell them that I have misspelled my email and send those to me. So make sure that you type your correct name and email address during the starting of the exam, and results will come to you. The scores are out of 300 marks. All these questions, whether 15 or 20 questions, they will be scored out of 300 marks, and you will pass only if you get 210 and above marks. And as I said, we never know which questions carry how many marks, and therefore it is very important for us to solve all the questions. Here in India, we have a tendency to keep something an option. I would recommend not to do that here in this examination, otherwise you will suffer heavily. 210 marks is not an easy thing to get. Obviously, if you do not pass the exam, there is nothing called as re-evaluation of the exam paper. You cannot go back to Red Hat and tell them that I solved everything correctly, why did I get 0 marks? And it will be surprising to you to see that some of the people do get 0 marks, and they have solved everything correctly, and I will tell you what that problem is, and you need to make sure that you don't do that problem, otherwise you might also get 0 marks. Obviously there is no cheating on exam. Red Hat is very tough on anybody who is even looking at somebody else's terminal, because you'll be sitting very closely to other people. You can probably see what is going on, but if you have any kind of cheating that Red Hat instructor suspects, you will be debarred from the exam. Not just for this RHCSA, they can debar you from all the future Red Hat certification exams. So make sure you don't do any foolish things here. Now I mentioned that since there is no evaluation, what to do? You have to be very careful about each and every question there, and what we have understood from our previous experience is that if your machine does not reboot after solving all the questions, let us say there are 20 questions, you solve all of them correctly, and finally you leave the exam hall, but before leaving the exam hall, make sure that you reboot your machine. You may reboot the machine multiple times during the examination, that is allowed, but make sure the last step is to reboot the machine, and machine should reboot properly. If the machine does not reboot properly, if it goes into the kernel panic mode or the maintenance mode, your examination paper will not be graded, because all these papers, all the work that you have done will be automatically graded by maybe some shell scripts or their automated programs. We don't know that. And if your machine doesn't reboot properly, then those automated programs will not be able to grade any one of your questions, and therefore you might get 0 marks. So make sure that this is properly followed. So this is all about the examination. Don't take it lightly, but at the same time I don't want to scare you off. If you properly follow the efforts and if you properly follow these videos that we are doing, then you will definitely be clearing the exam with good marks. So again, this is the topic of the examination information, and I will see you in the next video with the next topic.